Welcome back to another episode of Tractor Roy. As always, my name's Trent. We got this little 2011 Polaris 120 that we're working on yet again. Had some bad news with it. That 120 that we put in here, it ran great for maybe 10, 15 minutes. Engine seized up. Had oil in it. I haven't torn it down yet because we got this 212. So rather than trying to mess with rebuilding that thing, this thing works. We just got probably 8 inches of new snow over the last day and a half, 2 days. So I want my kid to be able to ride this because he's been cooped up inside. There's not much you can do when it's freaking cold like it has been. So we're going to go ahead and throw this 212 back in. As you can see, I've got some work done already. I've got the hood removed, the handlebars removed, and the engine removed. You have to take off that handlebars plus the steering post to get that engine out. And it just makes it a lot easier taking off the hood. You got a lot more room to work with. So this is what we're working with. This is the Predator 212 engine from Harbor Freight. It has the gas tank removed, the air cleaner box removed, and the muffler removed. Now, in addition to that, this is optional, but this has a different clutch, a little upgraded one to hold up to the power output of this, and a new chain and sprocket. The sprocket has already been installed, the new one, because I was using that with the old engine, so we won't go over that because that's actually, it's optional. It's not necessary. This is really the main thing that we're going to be looking at today. And we also have an aftermarket exhaust. I suppose you could use the factory one. It's just going to be venting under the hood, and I don't think it'd work. Super great. So this one, it exits out in the stock exhaust location. You have to open up a little bit bigger hole, but it's not too big of a deal. In my situation, this is a pretty sweet swap because it's already been swapped once before. I put the 120 back into it. You got these 4 holes. That's where the new Predator mounts to. You can kind of see these old ones. That's where the 120 went to originally. And this guy had to open up a couple of these holes. This is for where the brake band mounts to on this backside over here. Since this has already been done, this has already been drilled out. This is the template that came with this kit for swapping the 212. You can see our factory holes there, and then you can see where the new holes need to be there. Continuing on with our mounting, we have these 4 bolts here like I just showed you. We also have 4 holes down in the bottom. These 4 holes down in the bottom are the same bolt pattern as the original 120 engine. These just are the ones that need drilled out. In this kit, there came 2 aluminum shims. Those go on the bottom, the fat end towards the back of the sled. That just cocks this engine just a little bit. I haven't decided exactly why, other than it might help for draining the oil. Maybe it just orients these bolt holes in a little bit better spot so you're not trying to drill through, halfway through a hole more than just the one time. Now, unfortunately with this engine, it does not have a magneto big enough to run the lights, so I won't be able to use a headlight or brake light on this. I suppose that I could try and find something that'll make it work, but for now, we're not going to be doing anything with it. Now, this wire here, in addition to one that goes right here, will run up to our kill switch on the handlebars, so we can use the factory kill switch. Otherwise, if we didn't use that factory kill switch, every time you wanted to shut this off, you'd have to open up the hood and turn that. Okay, showing the engine modifications, we have this air screw, remote air screw goes to the bottom. That way you don't have to remove the carburetor to adjust it or try and reach your hand down there. Optional, but kind of handy. We have this velocity stack. This just helps so you can stick an air cleaner over the top. I'm not sure if this really has the room for it under the hood, but we're going to try and make this thing work. As far as the throttle goes, I have the governor bypassed. It's still attached, but it's just a solid wire instead of that spring. We're having some issues with governor hunting on this thing, and rather than deal with that, because governors are really meant for stationary engines, not for something with an accelerator or a throttle like we have in this situation. Right here, you can see the head of it down here. This bolt sticks out. That's going to be our throttle limiter. Since my son is going on here and he's going to be kind of inexperienced, I'm probably going to stick a longer bolt in there. Our throttle cable from the sled will go right here and hook into this bolt. So when you pull that thumb throttle, it'll actuate it from right here. If we stick that throttle stop screw in there, it'll stop, wide open throttle. It'll limit how far your throttle will travel when you punch it. because he's inexperienced, we don't want him to like panic and grip onto there and then just hold it wide open throttle, and it's too much for him. So I'm going to stick a longer bolt, like I said, limits his throttle, and then as he gains experience and gets older, then I can start backing that out and give him more throttle, basically. You can disconnect all the governor linkage inside of here, or all the governor inside of here, but I didn't because, I don't know, if this doesn't work, then I'm going to put the spring back in there and tune it some more. The one thing that I was really hoping I could figure out, but I haven't been able to, is the choke. So there's a way right now I could set it up with the old bracket that I was going to be able to stick that choke cable in right here, and then when you pull it, you could pull it and push it, and it would engage and disengage the choke. Well, there's a detent under here. You can kind of hear that. Well, because I have a wire cable, I can pull it just fine, but it's not strong enough to push it back. Instead of it pushing against that, it just bends that cable. If I had a straight wire choke, then it'd probably work, but my thinking is my kid can't pull start this now by himself, so we have to be the ones to start it. So it's not the end of the world to just open up the hood, turn the choke on, start it up, turn the choke off, and then he's on his way. In the future, if I get into this, they do make velocity stacks like this that have a built-in choke. That would probably make more sense. I thought about trying to like drill a hole in the top of this to remove that detent ball and detent spring, but without having another carburetor sitting here, I don't really want to do that, because if I break that, then we don't have a choke, and that's not helpful at all. Okay, I'm going to stick the recoil starter on. Oh, I took it off because the guy had lost these bolts for that other one, and I was trying to stick the other one on. I don't have the handle on here because I'm going to have to undo this knot, run it through the body portion of the sled. That way we can pull it without having to open the hood. And it does go on in this position. Okay, now we're ready to slap this thing back in. So I'm going to do my best to align these shims. If I was thinking, I could use some double-sided tape, stick them down there so I know it's going to be in the right spot, but I'm not thinking, and I don't want to go get the tape. Okay. We are in there. Now there's the 4 bolts that are over here, 4 bolts down on the bottom. Oh, this is going to be pretty fun for these back ones. But I do think I can reach them. And I know I can reach the fronts. And I mean, somebody did put this in, so it is possible. And we took it out, so it is possible. But I think what I'm going to do first is just go ahead and start the 4 bolts on this side. Just barely start them, like get 2 threads in there. That way I can move this engine around, but it's still going to be lined up this way and this way, so I'm not fighting trying to get those mounting bolts into the bottom. So I've got 2 holes there, one right at the end of my finger, the other one right down there, and then 2 at the back. To get to the ones at the back, I should be able to reach down there and be able to hold the nut, maybe like that, something like that. And then they do go up into the bottom here. I got a hole there, there, and there. So the bottom side's not too bad, but the top side's, it leaves a lot to be desired. Okay, everything is started. Now I'm going to tighten these 4 bolts to pull the engine this way, and then I'll use those 4 on the bottom to pull it down. Okay, now we're going to get all the steering taken care of. I just left these, boy, what are they? I can't even think of what the names of these are. Anyways, left them on there. It was easier than taking off these. And it fits. I got the clutch installed. I'm not going to go over that in this video. I do have another video. If you're interested in clutch work, check that thing out. So right now, I'm just going to stick these back in and get everything bolted back in. And it's really not bad taking this out. What? There's 2 bolts here, 2 bolts on the bottom holding that steering shaft, and then You can either take out the two on the ends or the two on the inner side, whichever you prefer. So I'm going to go ahead and get these tightened up. Going to make sure to get these ends tied so that way our steering system is all tightened back up. And then we'll go over the last couple of bits, which is, the throttle cable. I'm not using the choke cable right now, and then some of the wiring so we can get that kill switch working. So the magneto on this engine, to shut it off, you just ground it. So in this case, this switch that's right down here, in the on position, it opens it up so there's no continuity on this wire. When you turn it off, then it closes this switch and grounds out the magneto. That's what this is for. Now to get our kill switch up there to work, all we have to do is just run one wire, which is right here, up to our kill switch, and then one to some chassis ground on this thing. In this case, the guy put it to here. That's as good a spot as any, so we're going to put it right back to there. So one wire from our magneto going up to our handlebar button, and then one back down to ground somewhere. And that's all we need to do. Then this switch will still work. That'll still shut it off if you ever wanted to, but our handlebar switch will work also. That's all the wiring we're doing on this. We're not going to do anything off the old magneto because this one doesn't have enough power to run our lights, and that's for our headlights, so there's no point in doing that. Okay, sorry for the random break here. I just thought of something. So before, when I ran a wire up to the kill switch and then back down, I didn't have, this lanyard didn't work because it's tied into this one. So I had the realization if I use that, I can probably just tie on the magneto to this original harness. I mean, this is excessive. I'll clean this up later. And it should work how it was before, but then I'll be able to have this tether in use, the kill switch in use, more stuff to think about, but not what I'm going to be doing right now. This is our throttle cable. It goes to this little clip right here. So our throttle cable right here is going to go under this clamp, and then the cable is going to attach right there. And then I'll be able to set the throttle that way. When he pins it, it's not pushing up against that throttle screw and causing a lot of stress. I should be able to make it that that it's adjusted correctly. I can't forget to do our fuel line, which goes right back in here to the carburetor, obviously. Our choke cable isn't doing anything right now because can't hook it up. Now I just got to put in my recoil starter. So I'm going to undo this knot, run it up here through the spot for the handle, and then tie the handle back on. And that's it. We'll see if this wiring setup will work or if I need to switch it out for something else. So I was having some issues on this. If you leave the governor attached, you won't have problems. But I disconnected the governor in here, but I left the linkage so I could still use my hand throttle. So that governor isn't actually attached to anything. But this carburetor is designed for a governor, so it was letting in too much air when it was fully open, so it's restricted to only about a half throttle now. It runs good with the choke on, but I'm going to need to get a different carburetor, a little better designed for this situation instead of that factory one. But it works. It idles fine. Like I said, here's the kill switch that goes up to the factory kill switch here. The tether isn't hooked up right now, but I'll be able to tie in or splice into the wires into this some point here in the future. So that's all there is to it. I've had this engine in and out probably 3-4 times now between the two. It's pretty easy swap, honestly. Those 4 bolts is really the only things you need to modify on here, and that exhaust hole, but otherwise super simple swap. You could do it in a day, honestly, other than the issues I've been fighting that were more or less my own. So if you enjoyed this video, hit that thumbs up button, throw a comment down below if you liked it, if you want to let me know something. Subscribe if you're not. I got more stuff going on like this. Let me know if you want to see some small engine stuff, more tractors, work on vehicles, or whatever. We do it all here. So thanks for watching, and I hope I'll catch you on the next one.